Today's podcast is thanks to CQ University's MBA for the rest of us. Be about the new business world, not the old school tie. Delivered entirely online with no assessment deadlines, at CQ Uni, you can get a full qualification from $7,000. Search Be Different MBA.
Welcome back to Money News right across Australia. For those of you old enough, here's a bit of a theme to an old television series that you might recognise.
Steve Austin, astronaut, a man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
The $6 million man. That is what it is. And if you think that's thoroughly far-fetched, think these days about, I don't know, think about the ears, the cochlear ear implants that we have got that allow people to hear. Where else can that take us to? Well, I can tell you, at the University of New South Wales, in its engineering department, particularly in its biomedical engineering department, right now, there is even more breathtaking announcements coming. One of the things that Steve Austin, the $6 million man, had was he had a new set of eyes implanted. Well, guess what? That is precisely what the school is working on right now. The Phoenix 99 bionic eye is fully implantable. It's a system that could restore vision in patients affected by retinitis and also a range of other macular degeneration problems. It's massive what they're doing. Professor Greg Swanning is one of those people working on this project right now. He's on the line. Many thanks for your time, Greg.
My pleasure.
Okay, so look, I've got to say, it all sounds so thoroughly sci-fi and all that sort of stuff out there. But this is a real thing. It's a little bit like what we've seen with the cochlear ear implant. The types of responses that the brain can pick up, the electrical impulses. If you could do that, there's no reason why a person who's suffering vision impairment could not technically have it restored in the future.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Now the theme music brought back fond memories of Steve Austin, but we've been trying for years to try and get to that point. We're still a way off, but we are getting there. Right now we are working together with the University of New South Wales. I'm actually from the University of Sydney, and we're building up this device, and we've tested it, and everything's working perfectly, and we're gearing up for human studies as soon as we can possibly do it.
Now, the thing is, I understand that $10 million is needed over the next 5 years to continue developing this system. Where would you imagine that $10 million will come from?
A range of places. Now, the government, the people of Australia, have been very generous with coming forward with some funding for this device, and it'll be a mix of that type of funding, and we hope a little bit of philanthropy and perhaps some investment. We've got to the point now where this is going to happen, and it's getting ready for a point where people might invest in it.
But the point is also that a little like, say, for example, the cochlear ear implants that are now so well known and recognised around the world, this could revolutionise life for many people who have, say, for example, age-related macular degeneration, because even your own studies show it's predicted that 196 million people worldwide would have that degeneration by 2020, and that's to say nothing of, say, the retinitis pigmentosa, which affects around 2 million people worldwide. So it's a big, big market.
Oh, it's massive. Yeah, everyone. If we live long enough, we're all going to get macular degeneration. It's just a normal process of aging. So our population is getting older, and we're finding more and more people who get this disease. And there really isn't aren't a great deal of options for them other than a bionic eye.
Okay, so a bionic eye, is that simply replacing the whole eyeball and putting in a new bionic eye, or is it enhancing what's already there?
It's enhancing what's already there. So we're taking what's left of the eye, and there are some operating bits that are still working inside the eye, even with people with very advanced retinitis pigmentosa and macular degeneration. And we can tap into that broken bit and more or less replace it with little electrical impulses and bypass the damaged parts of the eye and go directly to the optic nerve and then off to the brain, and the person interprets these little signals as little dots of light, and then we formulate them together like you see the score on a stadium scoreboard, and they make out what's going on in front of them.
Just incredible. Now, is it a case where they will see through those eyes, or it is a situation, as I can see, that there would be a camera which would actually also allow that interpretation to take place?
That's right. The camera itself is actually replacing the bit of the eye that's no longer functioning. The film, if you will, on the back of the eye, we call them the rods and the cones. They're called photoreceptors, and they accept light, and they eventually send these signals off to the brain. Now, those are broken. But all the rest of the superhighway that goes between the eye and the brain is still functional, and if we give these little electrical impulses, we can make that happen again. But the actual picture that we're going to convey, we have to use a camera in order to get that, because the camera of the eye is no longer working.
So where do the glasses come in? Is that simply to hold the camera in place, or how does it work for them?
Okay, it is very much like that. We have a set of glasses with a camera on them, and there's a little bit of a computer as well in there, because we have to take that image and we have to turn it into instructions for the implant. So we go from a picture of the scene in front of you into little dots, and those little dots make up that image, and we send instructions and power into the system, very much like in the way that cochlear implants work, through the skin, but across the skin, not with a sort of a Frankenstein connector, but with these little antennas that send radio signals into the implant and give it all its instructions.
It's just such brilliant science. I mean, where does the inspiration for something like this come from for the team that's been working on it between UNSW and also Sydney University?
Yeah, well, it was very much inspired by cochlear implants. I think when that was first proposed, everybody thought, well, that's impossible. And then they've just proved that it wasn't impossible. And then when we started proposing that we can make people see again, that was, of course, impossible. So now we're seeing that they might not have been right. So we're making some really great progress now.
Okay, so in terms of the time that you believe, I mean, you're saying that $10 million is needed over the next 5 years. When do you imagine that this may become a reality?
Well, we're ready to go with some prototype devices, and as soon as we've convinced everybody that needs to be convinced that it's the safe and the correct thing to do, we'll be doing clinical trials.
I'll tell you what, it is just astonishing to see the way in which this has gone. And you can only imagine that 10 years ago, this would have been way outside the realm of possibility. But then you see the inspiration from one great piece of technology, the cochlear, that then inspires other scientists to come up with innovations such as this. And again, Australian innovation, which is equally brilliant as well. Professor Greg Swanning is the Professor of Biomedical Engineering at the School of Aerospace, Mechanical and Mechatronic Engineering at Sydney University, cooperating with those in the engineering departments at the University of New South Wales. Just fabulous to have you on the program tonight, Greg, and I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.